Hello, everyone. Well, it says I am live. I wanted to post this link to Facebook, but I guess I couldn't figure out how. So maybe if somebody clicks on, they can tell me how to do it. It's been a long time since I've done a live YouTube. I think it's because I messed up the sound so often. I got really frustrated about that, and I just stopped doing lives. But I know that people enjoy them, and it seems like somebody is here. Let's see. Yeah, there's somebody watching. If y'all can hear me, will you say something in the chat box? And if you all know, anyone who's watching, if you all know how you take the link so I can send it on over to my Facebook friends, would you let me know? Hi. Do you guys know how to take this link over and put it on Facebook? Or can you put the link to this in the chat so that I can do that? I said I was going to do that to Facebook. Well, anyway, so I've got things I want to talk about. I wanted to talk about my dad and his incredible will to live. Some really interesting things happened at the hospital. They said they were giving him this very slight, very low dose, they called it, sleep aid. And the name of this drug that they gave him was called Seroquel, and they made it sound like it was NyQuil. And I heard what they said, and they said it was hospital protocols, hospital sleep protocol, and they made it sound very minor, right? As a matter of fact, that what they said was that a typical dose of this Seroquel could be 100, 400, even 800 milligrams of this stuff can be a dose of it. And their very low dose for the hospital sleep pain protocol was 25 milligrams. Didn't seem like a big deal, right? It just seemed like what they did. There's all kinds of things that they did with anesthesia and other things like that for Dad's 2 abdominal surgeries. But that 25 milligrams, did in my dad. He started to be confused, and the staff was like, well, he's had two surgeries with, 2 days of anesthesia and recovering. And then he got past being confused, and he started basically having delusions or hallucinations. He was talking about there being glass on the floor, and he wanted to know what was behind the doors. He wanted to know why there was words on the ceiling. He was trying to make out the words on the ceiling. It was really disturbing. And as disturbing as all that was, and he's not a talkative fellow, but he was doing a little more talking. When it became really disturbing to me was the day we were being discharged from the hospital, which was Saturday. He started having extreme pain and weakness, and he needed help getting out of bed and into a wheelchair and then into the car, which he hadn't needed the whole time, even after surgery. And I'm thinking, the man's 91. He's been in the hospital for 8 days. He's been in a hospital bed for so long. Anybody's body would hurt, right? Except for that's really not what was going on. He'd been walking, he'd been holding his weight up, he'd been coherent, he'd had balance, all of that stuff. And by the time we got him home, it just got worse and worse. And we ended up calling the paramedics, and we ended up the next day taking him back to the hospital. They did all of these tests. scans, even x-rays, actually asking things like, did he fall? Because mostly he was talking about his legs. I'm like, I've been with that man the entire time. No, he didn't fall. They could find nothing wrong. Well, I took him off that drug, and it took a couple of days. And then there was a mix-up at the rehab place where they gave it to him again, quite frankly, because even though they said they took him off the drug, it took a while for the system, shall we say, to catch up. But he's doing so great right now. My dad is doing so great. He has the most incredible will to live. And I have these few memories. And one is when we're getting checked into the rehab place, they ask a question about do not resuscitate. And he heard that. And they were like, do you want to be a do not resuscitate patient? And the look on his face was like, are you kidding? And I explained it to him. I said, they want to know if your heart stops. Do you want them to help you get your heart starting again? He said, well, naturally. And that was amazing. And so I've made no bones about what was going on with Dad. He had his gallbladder was filled with stones. He had a giant stone back up into his bile duct, a big 1-inch stone that was in his bile duct. It must have been terribly painful. The diagnosis for his gallbladder was almost certainly due to alcohol. The failure of his pancreatitis. His dad's been a drinker for 70 years. He just has been. He always has been. I always figured his liver would give out, but that's not what happened. It was his pancreas along with his gallbladder. And the man's 91, and I didn't push it, and I didn't, I certainly discouraged it, but I didn't make it impossible to take away his cold beer during the day and his glass or two of wine at night. I didn't do that. But everything changed with this health situation, and those things have been removed. So where he is right now is really, really fascinating. So he's decades. I started hinting around for Dad to ease up on the drinking when I was 20. I'm 60. I've for 40 years I've been trying to get him to, and he just wasn't going to be hearing about it. But all of that's changed, and he's done. He's just done drinking, and that is fabulous. So, and I used to say, Dad, I bet you get half your calories from drinking, and that's proven to be true because he's lost considerable weight. He's probably 162 pounds or something. He's 6'1". But some really interesting things have happened in the last few days. He has this renewed energy. And of course, he may have been feeling poorly in his belly for a very long time with that sick gallbladder and maybe, an inflamed pancreas for God knows how long. And all that's gone. Any brain fog he might have had from alcohol consumption is also gone. And suddenly he's laughing more, talking more engaged, and has more energy. And it's just so amazing because, a week ago Sunday, when Dad was at the house, I thought he might be leaving the planet, really. I thought he might be going. I thought he might just be failing because nothing was explaining what was going on, why he couldn't hold up his own weight, why he was yelling in pain, why his body was shutting down and doing what it was doing. It was just terrible. And all of that has turned around, and we had PT goals that he basically, he met those goals in the first day and a half. Thank you everyone for asking how he's doing. He's doing great. Dad's doing great. And we went from 2 people in a wheelchair to get him to use the toilet to He's walking using a stand-up walker, but he's walking at 500, 600 paces. He's riding an exercise bike. He's throwing a ball. He's doing all kinds of things. And some of what they're doing with him with speech therapy has been amazing, and occupational therapy has been amazing. And we're going to continue that at home. So all of that is really, really great, really, really great news. But the timing of the system, and because I'm getting him a new bed and a different chair to sit on, all of this is basically, we're going to keep him at this facility into next week. Things will be finished, delivered next Wednesday, and we're bringing him home on Thursday. That's the plan right now. So Thursday of next week. And I'm happy about that because, kind of tired of being there. He's tired of being there. It's a really nice place. They've treated him very well, but it's also a very medicalized place. There's lots of restrictions, especially for us, those who are unjabbed. And I say us, me and Dad. They haven't required me to do tests, but they certainly have Dad. Dad's done 2 tests so far, and they segregate the non-jabbed people down one hallway. And although they say they're not really supposed to talk about it, at the very end of that hallway, they actually have reserved rooms. And my understanding is that's for active COVID patients, which I find just fascinating. That they're going to put any actively positive, I guess, patients at the end of this hallway. All this is conjecture because, HIPAA, and we're not supposed to know, and all that kind of stuff. But let's just say with the signage and different things going on, it's fairly easy to kind of figure that out. In the same hallway as those that are, have elected to not take the shots. We're on different schedules as far as PT and OT and things like that. But it's all very, very strange because if you just pay any kind of attention at all, none of it makes any sense. None of it would seem to logically work as far as the segregation. It's kind of like in name only. But anyway, all of that's doing great. Okay, so I want to get to a few other things. First of all, that great news and the great timing of Dad. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Dad, for doing this it's been about 3 weeks now. But what he didn't do was do this on top of my BQH Immersion class, which is coming up in 2 weeks. And, it has certainly thrown a wrench in my works as far as timing of me getting prepared and actually trying to tell everyone about the class. We still have a few slots left. Some questions have come in. I want to talk about that. I want to answer those questions, but the class is still going on, and I'm so excited about it because it's the very first one, the very first BQH Immersion class, and I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about this thing that happened last night that's just so cool. I'm going to start with that, actually. A possible bilocation moment. So my husband and I were able to go out to dinner last night a little bit because Dad's caregiver stayed a little late so that we could go do that. And we had a nice dinner, and we came home, and it was, I get up so early. I got up before 4 today. I get up early. I just do, which means I hit 8, 9 o'clock, and I'm done. I can't be awake much past that if I get up at 4 a.m. So it was about 9 when I was shutting everything down, turning off the lights. And it occurred to me, I was thinking a lot about Dolores, a lot about this class coming up, a lot of things. And I actually had thought to myself, it's been a while. It's been a while since I had a paranormal or supernormal experience. And so I started thinking about it. I'm like, they're always so much fun to talk about. They're always so meaningful. But for some reason, I was thinking about it last night. It's really been a while. It's been a while since I've been able to really talk about one. And I was thinking about a couple of different things. And I always think about Dolores, of course. And I was thinking about her. But I was also thinking about this idea of travel and lucid dreaming and, the things I always think about, the things so many of us think about, the nature of reality and all of that. And I was thinking about the possibility of what might happen during the class and what sort of adventures and what sort of places we could explore in the upcoming class. And I was thinking about the possibilities of time stopping, time traveling, and bilocation. And then I just found myself falling asleep. Well, a really interesting thing happened. So at 9:30 at night last night, which is about when I'm like, I'm headed off to dreamland. At the farm, something happened. During all this, what was I feeling? Nothing. I was just thinking. I'm just thinking, closing my eyes and getting sleepy, and ended up sleeping. And but at 9:30 at night, and my husband Tom texted me, and I didn't get the text till the morning. I didn't even look at my phone till the morning. And he said, is everything okay? And then he said, the strangest thing just happened. And then he explained in text briefly, but then he explained this morning even more specifically what had happened. So he was up, he was still working. He was in the bedroom. He had a baseball game, but he said he wasn't really listening to it. It was almost not quite muted. It was a very low sound. He had a baseball game going. He was sort of watching that, but he was working on the computer. And the 3 dogs and a couple of the cats were with him in that back bedroom. And he said he's just working. He's in the middle of typing out an email. And all of a sudden, he hears me at the front door. And he hears me and my voice yelling his name. He said, not a scared thing or anything, just a calling name, Tom, like that. He said all 3 dogs leapt up from their beds. Now, if somebody had knocked on the door, or if there had been an animal sound or something, they'd have run barking, right? That's the dogs would have gone crazy barking. But this is the crazy thing. They heard me too. So they jumped up like mom's home. So the 3 dogs, shot like cannons out of the bedroom, went to the front door. Tom got up. He brought his phone because he thought, my God, did something happen? Did I miss a phone call or something? He's taking the phone to the front door. They go all the way to the front door, and Tom and the dogs are looking around. And nothing. I'm not there. And I just found that interesting. So I didn't have any experience at all about to relate on my end of it, except for the fact that I had been laying in bed thinking about such a thing, a profound experience, maybe a bilocation experience. I don't know, I really quizzed Tom a lot about it too. I was like, are you sure it was my voice? He said, absolutely. And the dogs did the thing because, the animals have been missing me. I haven't been at home a lot. And the dogs and the cats get very excited when I come home because they're like, why aren't you here more often? Because I've been spending all my nights with Dad, which is starting to be weeks now. I've slept on the floor at hospitals or in chairs now for weeks. About ready to get in my own bed. I really, really am. But I'm prone. I've got this really cool flip out thing, and I've got my pillows and my blankets, and I've been sleeping. I really have. So, let me get to not thinking but feeling. There's a profound difference. Dolores said, what was I feeling? I was feeling excitement about the class coming up. I was feeling excitement about because always these classes and the gathering of practitioners to experiment and have fun and community and love together like this, always something amazing happens. Always. Every single one, every single time. And they've all been different, and there's all amazing stories that go with all of them. Looking back on some of the pictures and some of the video clips, it has just touched my heart so much because it just keeps happening, right? It's almost, you almost expect it. You almost have to expect it when you get together and you do this kind of work together. And so I'm starting to, and I was being excited about all of that coming up, excited about the intensity of the time that we're living in right now, watching my dad get this new lease on life at 91. And of course, I have no idea how long he's actually going to still be alive. But, I went from, is he going to be here tomorrow, just a week ago, to, oh my gosh, you're like the Energizer Bunny right now. And, you're just, it looks like you're going to get another win here and continue for a while. And now I've been able to not focus so much on his needs so specifically, and start thinking about getting back to work and start thinking about all the magical things that quantum healers and BQH focus on, that I've kind of had to set aside just to be a caregiver and to take care of my family. So I was very excited about the switching of gears, and I was allowing myself to think and feel and get excited about upcoming magic. And I do want to talk about that a little bit, actually. So this whole idea of the BQH Immersion class is, I've been doing the live BQH classes since we started in the spring of 2020. Such a great time for beginnings. Anyway, it had been a live version of the BQH material, and that's what it had been every time. And what had surprised me, and had been every time up until the one that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And when I say a couple of weeks, I'm talking specifically June 19th. That's Sunday, June 19th, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday class, and then Friday, a fun day at the farm. Those are the days that it is. So starting June 19th of this month. It's the first BQH immersion class. But we had done, multiple BQH live classes since then. And every time I've been surprised at how many people have come to the class who have already taken the BQH class. They've already taken it online. And I've been surprised at the people who've wanted to come or did come or signed up to come, who are very experienced practitioners already, who've been doing this work for years already. I mean, obviously the one person I would talk about that most of all of you would recognize is Allison Coe. I mean, I was just shocked. She didn't even say anything. All of a sudden I saw that she filled out the registration and she was showing up for a class. And I'm like, what? And it was astonishing and it was amazing. And the more I started thinking about it, the more I started thinking I needed to, and wanted to, create a version of the class that isn't for the rank beginners, and or to think about having people go through the course material online first and then get here and move into something that's a little deeper. And that's what this immersion class is. So rather than it being a live version of the core teachings of BQH, this immersion class is having people show up either brand new, which is just fine, or very experienced, which is just wonderful, but having gone through the core material, the foundation work of the BQH class. So having finished the curriculum. Now that doesn't mean, and this is the one question that keeps coming in, do you have to have a certain number of sessions to show up? And the answer is absolutely not. If you've never done one session at all, you can sign up for this immersion class, but you have to have gone through that foundational course BQH already, because we're not going to go over that information. We will review it. Yes, we will answer questions about it. Absolutely. And we'll refer to it constantly, of course, but we're not going to teach that material step by step in this immersion class. This immersion class is something a little different. Rather than take all of that time, which it takes to get through this material, we will assume you've already done that, of course, because you've gone through that. And this is about expanding and immersing into this experience a little bit more, okay? So you do not need to have any certain number of sessions under your belt. So so then the next question typically has tended to be, so is this just a bunch of swapping of sessions? And the answer is no. No, it's not. There's certainly going to be that. We're certainly going to be doing sessions. We're going to be doing demonstrations, and we're going to be doing mock sessions, and we're going to be doing session swaps for sure. But some of the things that we're going to be talking about are some common concerns, and we're going to role play a lot of things to help illustrate some of that. And one of my favorite things that we're going to focus on are extreme cases. And to do some mock sessions or to focus on some extreme cases is really a wonderful thing, because it helps you feel prepared to have almost anything happen in a session. Even if you haven't personally dealt with it, you will have seen how this can happen, because not every session is a textbook session. There's constant surprises in this work. Now, that's one reason I love it. I just love it, because not every day is the same. Not every session is the same. You don't know what's going to happen. And I thrive on that. But, some people, this work isn't for people who don't enjoy surprises. Oh, Dolores, I love you too. I really do. Thank you so much. Your name has popped up so often being a supporter of quantum healers and me, and I do appreciate you. And hey, there's my beautiful friend Allison. I was actually going to just mention our exclusive content that's going to be a part of this class, this first immersion class coming up, which is we are going to focus very, very deeply. We're going to immerse ourselves into the element of water alchemy, the water alchemy element of a BQH session. And we're going to do that in a number of ways. And in one of the ways that we are going to do it is we are going to present some material channeled by the fabulous Will Brown, who is going to address some questions and some concepts that I'm going to be presenting to him with the water element about these sorts of sessions that we're doing. And we're going to bring that information to you during the class. And this is exclusive content that you're not going to find anywhere else. I'm very, very excited about it. Not only that, we are going to do other energetic experiments, including more energetic experiments with water. And one of the things we're going to do is I'm actually going to be handing out glass Petri dishes, and we're going to be doing some crystallization of the water element. And I'm going to be presenting some brand new material about the fourth stage of water, the plasma stage of water, and how that relates to consciousness and beyond quantum healing, and how we can think about all of these things in our sessions and in our daily lives. I'm really, really excited about that. We're going to do some experiments, and I'm going to show you all how we're actually going to do this crystal photography just with a wonderful cell phone. I've just gone through a course. I have the understanding and the knowledge of how to do that. Got a little freezer right here and back, and we can actually play. Yay, says Allison. Hi, there's Philly Pam. It's very nice to see you. Oh, she says she's locked out of Facebook since last November. Oh, you naughty girl. Did you say something you shouldn't have said? Crystal grid I built out in the ocean. I'm glad that you're mentioning ocean. There's so much about the ocean that plays into this. I've learned some other things about the structure of water. I did some research in my own dreams with Masaru Emoto and Dolores, and I'm seeing things with new eyes, and I'm understanding things more deeply. I think that that's what's happening to all of us, particularly healers at this time and in the last 2 years. We've been We've been in the warm-up pen, everybody. That's what we've been doing the whole time until 2020 hit. And now it's like we're called up to bat. I guess I'm still thinking baseball since my husband was watching baseball. It's, you know, it's game time, right? Not that the work we were doing before wasn't valuable and important and powerful, but it's on a new level now, and everything is in a, we're in the big leagues. We really are in the big leagues, or in the next league. and there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to be excited about. And there are things happening and understandings that we have now that we didn't have just a couple of years ago, for sure. So things are ramping up. Okay, there's a few more things I wanted to talk about. And one is, of course, our great friends, Donna McMurtry and Diana Adair will be coming from Colorado to join us to do all of this work. They're going to participate and assist in the classes, in the mock sessions, in the demonstrations. They're going to do fabulous cooking for us. And speaking of energetic components of this class, Donna's even going to be running a spoon bending portion for us out at the farm on Friday. So if you hadn't heard me talk about it on Friday before, we've got a portal out there that's marked with these stones. We've had amazing things go on in that portal on the Friday is my favorite day. It's like not even officially class. We've got the meet and greet on Sunday. We have 4 full days of classes and everything. And then Friday at the farm is quote unquote optional, but it's the best day. It's the best day to be out there. There's the horses, there's the land. We've had lots of rain. It's very green. It's beautiful. The gardens are growing. I believe I'll be able to have some fresh produce. The tomato plants are blooming. The cucumbers are pushing them out. And my sugar snap peas, actually, I ate some in the garden this morning. So hopefully be able to bring some of the produce straight from my farm into lunch here at the studio for our lunch breaks during the day. And I think that I've gone over everything I need to about the class. There's still time to sign up. There's room for 12. And I think, and part of this is my fault. I didn't start talking about it because everything that was going on with Dad. So I think we've got 3 seats left, maybe even 4, but 3 to 4 seats. We're going to have the class no matter what, but there's still room, especially if you're within driving distance. And it's so nice here with the Airbnbs because right upstairs are 3 units that's run by my same landlady who, is my landlady for my space here. She also has 2 units across the street. There's several within short walking distance and multiple more within short driving distance. And, I forgot to say, one of the things that we're going to do during the class, I'm very excited about this too, because a lot of people who have been familiar with or had been practitioners who've done only in-person sessions still have some concerns about doing things online. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to set it up to do an online session, but just right upstairs, right? But we're going to go through all of the steps and all the things that you might think, could trip you up. And we're going to do that all right here. So it's a lot of great hands-on, practical, experiential session work, and, a lot of focusing on consciousness and the exciting potential that humans have in front of us right now. If we can just focus on those positive things and kind of put aside the absolute craziness that's happening outside that door right there, or even like when I head back into town here to the rehab center pretty soon. Still got to navigate that reality stream. And God bless my dad for not doing all of this 2 years ago. That's all I got to say about that, right? Let's see. I'm looking at the messages. I was going to set all souls free. Ha ha ha. Well, that sounds like a good goal. Is it possible to get a recommendation to where I can get the baseline coursework for BQH to prepare for this class? Yeah, the BQH Online Class is available at quantumhealers.com. Just click the BQH tab. If you binge watched and binge did the coursework, you absolutely could still make it in 2 weeks. I'm almost certain wouldn't be able to have any time to practice, but that's okay. Getting through that coursework is what's necessary to show up here for the immersion classes, is to do the BQH coursework first. And, for those of you who may be listening who are not familiar with BQH, I'll just go over that really quickly. BQH is based upon the classic past life regression model, just like so many of the other quantum healing approaches that are out there. There's a lot of people who might mistakenly, in my opinion, call it a version of QHHT that can be done online. I couldn't disagree with that any more than I already do. I practiced and still am available to give QHHT sessions if that's what a client wants. But I practiced QHHT only the whole time Dolores was alive until her death. And then still for another couple of years until I started feeling comfortable enough myself to start expanding outside the box of rules and the tight restrictions that are held around QHHT. Now, in my experience, almost all of those tight rules and tight restrictions, Dolores herself bent and eased on. And in classes, I assisted Dolores in many, many classes, and people would push and they would ask, and they, do you have to do this? Do you have to always do this way? And what if this happens? And what if that happens? And Dolores was a reasonable woman. She'd say, well, she'd always start that way. Well, in that case, and then she would talk about modifying whatever it was that was her rule. She did, the couple of things that she didn't modify directly and that she stayed pretty strict on was she couldn't imagine doing anything online. That she couldn't do. She just couldn't imagine it. And she also didn't like this idea of mixing modalities. Those two things, those two things were not there. And with BQH, those two things are not a problem at all. Not a problem at all, because I have found that online sessions are just as powerful and in some ways have proven to be safer. I'll say that again, safer than in-person sessions. Why? Because nobody gets into a car and drives after an online session. They're at home. They're on their sofa. They're on their couch. They're in their bed. And the unsafe thing about doing hypnosis online is really, really about the sleepiness factor after the fact, right? And unless you've got a driver or you're not going anywhere, I have hundreds now, and I have thousands of students who have performed multiple of thousands of sessions now since 2018 that have proven that online sessions are safer than in-person sessions. It's absolutely an ironclad. What am I trying to say? Anyway, it's a fact. It's a fact. They are safer. They just are. I'd stake my reputation on that. Okay, so there's that. And as far as mixing modalities, Dolores used to say, you don't need all those bells and whistles. You don't need crystals. You don't need bells. You don't need Reiki. You don't need singing. You don't need binaural beats. You don't need any of those things. And her method proved that her method was very straightforward. You don't need those things. Here is my perspective on the mixing of modalities. If my client wants a little bit of hands-on Reiki before a session to relax before a session, I don't see any problem with that. And that is mixing a modality. If my client wants some music or requests something mid-session that provides and brings in a skill set or something else that I've learned or experienced or can share with the client, that's considered a bell or a whistle, and it helps them feel more comfortable to continue on exploring their own consciousness, I find that that's a valid thing to accept, and I have no problem with that. So BQH deviates from QHHT in a number of different ways. Absolutely online session work is perfectly fine, and I again say it's safer. Number 2, mixing modalities, mix away. Number 3, change anything you want. Change the order you want, change the script, change whatever you want. You can change anything you want. Be creative, right? There's no problem with modifying the method so that it suits you, so that it suits your client, as long as your client's best interest and highest good is first and foremost, and that your client knows what's coming and that you talk to your client about that stuff. These are the important issues for me, not following somebody else's rules, and certainly not following God bless her. You know, Dolores is never far from my thoughts, never far from my heart. She lived in a different world than we did, and we do. She left before any of this happened. I had somebody the other day say to me, I didn't say it, but somebody said the other day to me, I have no doubt that if Dolores was alive during all of this, she would have modified her method and began to experiment doing online sessions. I don't know. Maybe. You know, I'm not going to say that she would or she wouldn't. She left before we could have tested that out. But it's a different world, and it's time to expand our approaches along with the expansion of our consciousness. And, you know, nobody told Dolores Cannon what to do, right? Nobody gave her any rules. So I kind of like that spirit. And BQH practitioners, you don't have to follow any rules. Okay, let me see about some more comments, and then I'm going to need to go because I've got other things I have to do. Philly Pam, do you live in Philadelphia? You know, I used to live outside of Philadelphia. Quantum love to you all too. Well, thank you all for listening, and I'm going to try to do more of these live streams. This was fun connecting with you all. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions about anything at all, but especially about the immersion class coming up, gosh, I would love to see a full class coming up in 2 weeks. It's okay if we don't. It'll be great either way, but there's still 4 seats left. So bring your friends. Come on down. It's a lot of fun. I promise it'll be worth every minute. Bye, Allison. See you soon. I'm going to talk to you and Will tomorrow, aren't I? Bye.